everyone. In today's session, I will be reading chapter Advent of the Europeans in India. It is part 2 of our video. So, this is a pure reading session, so you can follow along with your book or simply listen carefully. Let's begin. Our topic of today is From Trading to Ruling Vasco da Gama. In this video, we are going to discuss Vasco da Gama, Francisco de Almeida, and Alfonso de Albuquerque, and Nono de Cunha. Okay, so Vasco da Gama, the arrival of three ships under Vasco da Gama, led by Gujarati pilot named Abdul Majid at Calicut in May 1498, profoundly affected the course of Indian history. The Hindu ruler of Calicut, the Zamorin Samuthiri, however, had no apprehension regarding the Europeans' intentions, as the prosperity of his kingdom was due to Calicut's position as an entry port. He accorded a friendly reception to Vasco da Gama, the Arab trader who had a good business on the Malabar coast, were however apprehensive and were not keen on the Portuguese getting a hold there. For centuries, the trading system in the Indian Ocean had had numerous participants: Indians, Arabs, Africans from the East Coast, Chinese, Japanese, among other. But these participants had acted according to some Tacitus rules of conduct, and none had sought overwhelming dominance, though all were on the lookout for profit. The Portuguese changed that. They wanted to monopolize the hugely profitable eastern trade by excluding competitors, especially the Arabs. Vasco da Gama stayed in India for 3 months. When he returned to Portugal, he carried back with him a rich cargo and sold the merchandise in European market at a huge profit. The importance of direct access to paper trade was made clear by the fact that elsewhere the European who had to buy through Muslim middlemen would have had to spend 10 times as much for the same amount of paper. Not surprisingly, other profit seeking merchants of European nations were tempted to come to India and trade directly. A voyage was undertaken by Pedro Alvarez Cabral to trade for spices. He negotiated and established a factory at Calicut, where he arrived in September 1500. There was an incident of conflict when the Portuguese factory at Calicut was attacked by the local, resulting in the death of several Portuguese. In retaliation, Cabral seized a number of Arab merchant ships anchored in the harbor and killed hundreds of their crew, besides confiscating their cargo and burning the ships. Calicut was bombarded by Cabral. Later, Cabral succeeded in making advantageous treaties with the local rulers of Cochin and Kannauр. Vasco da Gama once again came to India in 1501. The Zamorin declined to exclude the Arab merchant to favor of shipping wherever he could. His capture with the Zamorin thus became total and complete. Vasco da Gama set up a trading factory at Kannur. Soon, Calicut, Kannur, and Cochin became the important trade center of Portuguese. Gradually, under the pretext of protecting the factories and their trading activities, the Portuguese got permission to fortify these centers. Next, Francisco de Almeida. In 1505, the King of Portugal appointed Francisco de Almeida as a governor in India for a 3-year term. and equipped the incumbent with sufficient force to protect the Portuguese interest. Almeida was asked to consolidate the position of the Portuguese in India and to destroy Muslim trade by seizing Aden, Hormuz, and Malacca. He was also advised to build fortress at Anjandiva, Cochin, Kennor, and Kilwa. Almeida, however, encountered the opposition of Zamorin as well as threat from the Mamlaka Sultan of Egypt, encouraged by the merchants of Venice, whose lucrative commerce was now at risk due to Portuguese interference. The Egyptians raided a fleet in the Red Sea to stop the advance of the Portuguese. In 1508, the Portuguese squadron was defeated in the naval battle of Chol by the combined Egyptian and Gujarat navies, and Almeida's son was killed. Next year, Almeida avenged his defeat by totally crushing the two navies of Diu. Almeida's vision was to make the Portuguese the master of Indian Ocean. His policy was known as Blue Water Policy, Carteret system. Okay. Next, Alfonso de Albuquerque, who succeeded Almeida as the Portuguese governor in India, was the real founder of Portuguese power in the East. He secured for Portugal the strategic control of Indian Ocean by establishing bases overlooking all the entrance to the sea. There were Portuguese strongholds in East Africa, off the Red Sea at Ormuz, in Malabar and at Malacca. The Portuguese under Albuquerque introduced a permit system for other ships and exercised control over the major shipbuilding centers in the region. The non availability of timber in the Gulf and Red Sea region for shipbuilding also held the Portuguese in their objectives. Albuquerque acquired Goa from the Sultan of Bijapur in 1510 with ease. The principal port of the Sultan of Bijapur became the first bit of Indian territory to be under the European since the time of Alexander the Great. An interesting feature of his rule was abolition of sati. The Portuguese men who had come on the voyage and stayed back in India were from Albuquerque's days encouraged to take local wives in Goa and the province of the north. They established themselves as village landlords, often building new roads and irrigation works, introducing new crop like tobacco and cashew, or better plantation varieties of coconut, besides planting large groves of coconut to meet the need of the corn rigging and corrugate. In the cities, they settled as artisans and master craftsmen. Beside being traders, most of them come to consider their new settlements rather than Portuguese as home. Next, Nuno the Cunha. Nuno the Cunha assumed office of the governor of Portuguese interest in India in November 1529 and almost 1 year later shifted the headquarters of Portuguese government in India from Cochin to Goa. Bahadur Shah of Gujarat, during his conflict with Mughal Emperor Humayun, secured help from the Portuguese by seceding to them in 1534 the island of Basin with its dependencies and revenues. He also promised them a base in Diu. However, Bahadur Shah's relation with the Portuguese became sour when Humayun withdrew from Gujarat in 1536, since the inhabitants of the town started fighting with the Portuguese. Bahadur Shah wanted to raise a wall of partition. Opposing this, the Portuguese started negotiations in the course of which the ruler of Gujarat was invited to Portuguese ship and killed in 1537. The Kunha also attempted to increase Portuguese influence in Bengal by settling many Portuguese nationals there with Hooghly as their headquarters. Next, favorable condition for Portuguese. In India, excepting Gujarat, which was ruled by powerful Mahmud Beg- Begraha or Begada from 1458 to 1511, the northern part was much divided among many small powers. In the Deccan, the Bahmani kingdom was breaking up into smaller kingdoms. None of the power had a navy worth its name, nor did they think of developing their naval strength. In the Far East, the imperial decree of the Chinese emperor limited the navigational reach of Chinese ships. As regards the Arab merchants and ship owners who until then dominated the Indian Ocean trade, they had nothing to match the organization and unity of Portuguese. Moreover, the Portuguese had cannons placed on their ships. So, this is for today's video. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care. In the next video, we will discuss Portuguese states. Okay, bye.